everyone, it's Pastor Rob, and you've reached the channel Ask P. Rob. Part 2 of the question is today, what is truth? For extra study on the topic, see the website, gotquestions.org. I drew heavily from that, or The Beat with Alan Pars. Sometimes I go there, or even Tim Keller podcast. Now, before we dive in, as usual, would you do us a favor?
Could you do me a solid?
Would you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell in the right-hand corner below this video? That way, you'll be notified anytime a new video comes out. You won't have to miss a single episode of Ask P. Rob. Thanks. We appreciate it a ton. Well, we're diving pretty deep on this one, so please check out part 1 before watching this. You'll be glad you did. Truth has been getting a bad rap these days. It's abused, belittled, completely made fun of, marginalized. Some of you might be thinking, sheesh, it's just a concept. You're acting like it's a person who got hurt. Well, that's because the Bible makes it crystal clear the truth is a person. John 14:6, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. According to this verse, truth is Jesus. Not only that, but the stakes of not getting this right are unimaginably high. No one can get there, he's talking about heaven, by doing an end around Jesus.
You shall not pass!
By avoiding the truth. And that's increasingly difficult in a culture that continually undermines the truth.
Truth is?
The disciples of postmodernism, I don't know what else to call them, they simply affirm no particular truth. The patron saint of postmodernism has to be Friedrich Nietzsche. He described truth like this. What then is truth? It's a mobile army of metaphors, of metonyms and anthropomorphisms. Truth are illusions. Coins which have lost their pictures and now matter only as metal, no longer as coins.
What you talking about, Dad?
Ironically, although the postmodernist holds coins in his hand that are now mere metal, he affirms at least one absolute truth, the truth that no truth should be affirmed. Like the other worldviews, postmodernism is self-defeating and cannot stand up under its own claims. A popular worldview is pluralism. Let's take that for an example. It says that all truth claims are equally valid. Of course, that's impossible. Can two claims, one that says a woman is now pregnant and another one that says she is not now pregnant, both be true at the same time? No. Pluralism unravels at the feet of the law of non-contradiction, which says that something cannot be both A and non-A at the same time and in the same sense. As one philosopher quipped, anyone who believes that the law of non-contradiction is not true and by default pluralism is true should be beaten and burned until they admit that to be beaten and burned is not the same thing as to be not beaten and burned. That's a little extreme, but you get the point. Also, note that pluralism says that it is true and anything opposed to it is false, which is a claim that denies its own foundational tenet. The spirit behind pluralism is an open-armed attitude of tolerance. However, pluralism confuses the idea of everyone having equal value and every truth claim being equally valid. More simply, all people may be equal, but not all truth claims are. Pluralism fails to understand the difference between opinion and truth, a distinction Mortimer Adler notes as follows. Pluralism is desirable and tolerable only in those areas that are matters of taste rather than matters of truth. Let's talk about the offensive nature of truth to some people, because that factors in. When the concept of truth is maligned, it is usually for one or more of the following reasons. It's narrow-minded, some people say. However, the critic fails to understand that by nature, truth is narrow. Is a math teacher narrow-minded, for example, for holding to the belief that 2 + 2 = 4? Another objection to truth is that it is arrogant to claim that someone is right and another person is wrong. However, returning to the above example with mathematics, is it arrogant for a math teacher to insist on only one right answer to an arithmetic problem? A third charge against those holding to absolute truth in matters of faith and religion is that such a position excludes people rather than being inclusive. But such a complaint fails to understand that truth by nature excludes its opposite. All answers other than 4 are excluded from the reality of what 2 + 2 truly equals. Hopefully you get that. Yet another protest against truth is that it's offensive and divisive to claim one has truth and someone else doesn't. Instead, or better, the critic argues, all that really matters is sincerity. The problem with this position is that truth is immune to sincerity, or belief for that matter, or even desire. It doesn't matter how much one sincerely believes a wrong key will fit a door, the key still won't go in and the lock won't be open. Truth is also unaffected by sincerity. Someone who picks up a bottle of poison and sincerely believes it's lemonade will still suffer the unfortunate effects of poison, because that's what it was. Finally, truth is impervious to desire. A person may strongly desire that their car has not run out of gas. But if the gauge says the tank is empty and the car will not run any further, then no desire in the world will miraculously cause the car to keep going.
But I want it!
Some will admit that absolute truth exists, but then claim such a stance is only valid in the area of science and not in matters of faith and religion. Well, this is a philosophy called logical positivism, which was popularized by philosophers such as David Hume and A.J. Ayer. In essence, such people state that truth claims must be either one, tautologies. For example, all bachelors are unmarried men. Or two, empirically verifiable, that is, testable via science. To the logical positivist, all talk about God is utter nonsense. Now, those who hold to the notion that only science can make truth claims fail to recognize is that there are many realms of truth where science is impotent. It's absolutely useless. For example, science cannot prove the disciplines of mathematics and logic because it presupposes them. Science cannot prove metaphysical truths such as minds other than my own even exist. Science is unable to provide truth in the areas of morals and ethics. You cannot use science, for example, to prove the Nazis were evil. We all know they were, but you can't use science to prove it. Science is incapable of stating truths about aesthetic positions such as the beauty of a sunrise or a sunset. Lastly, when anyone makes the statement, science is the only source of objective truth, they have just made a philosophical claim which cannot be tested by science. And then there are those who say that absolute truth does not apply in the area of morality. Yet the response to the question, is it moral to torture and murder an innocent child, is absolute and universal. No. Or to make it more personal, those who espouse relative truth concerning morals always seem to want their spouse to be absolutely faithful to them. Go figure. Listen, truth is important. Why is it so important to understand and embrace the concept of absolute truth in all areas of life, including faith and religion? Well, simply because life has consequences for being wrong. Giving someone the wrong amount of a medication can kill them. Having an investment manager make the wrong monetary decisions can impoverish a family. Boarding the wrong plane will take you where you do not wish to go. And dealing with an unfaithful marriage partner can result in the destruction of a marriage and a family and potentially disease and worse. As Christian apologist Ravi Zacharias put it, the fact is, the truth matters, especially when you're on the receiving end of a lie. And actually, nowhere is this more important than in the area of faith and religion. Eternity is an awfully long time to be wrong. Well, what about God and truth? During the 6 trials of Jesus, the contrast between the truth, righteousness, and lies, unrighteousness, was unmistakable. There stood Jesus, the truth, being judged by those whose every action was bathed in lies. And the Jewish leaders broke nearly every law designed to protect a defendant from wrongful conviction. They fervently worked to find any testimony that would incriminate Jesus, even though they were all false. And in their frustration, they turned to false evidence brought forward by liar after liar after liar. But even that could not help them reach their goal, so they broke another law and forced Jesus to implicate himself. Now, once in front of Pilate, the Jewish leaders lied again. They convicted Jesus of blasphemy. But since they knew that that wouldn't be enough to coax Pilate to kill Jesus, they claimed Jesus was challenging Caesar and was breaking Roman law by encouraging the crowds not to pay taxes. They brought everything into this. They threw everything against the wall, seeing whatever would stick. Well, Pilate quickly detected their superficial deception, and he never even addressed the charge. Jesus the righteous was being judged by the unrighteous. The sad fact is that the latter always persecutes the former. It's why Cain killed Abel. The link between truth and righteousness and between falsehood and unrighteousness is demonstrated by a number of examples in the New Testament. Let's take a few. For this reason, God will send upon them a deluding influence so that they will believe what is false, in order that they may be judged who did not believe in the truth, but took pleasure in wickedness. That's 2 Thessalonians 2, 11 through 12. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in their unrighteousness. Romans 1:18. Who will render to each person, it's talking about God, according to their deeds. To those who by perseverance in doing good seek for glory and honor and immortality, eternal life. But to those who are selfishly ambitious and do not obey the truth, but obey unrighteousness, wrath, and indignation. That's Romans 2:6-8. Love does not act unbecomingly. It does not seek its own. It's not provoked, does not take into account a wrong suffered, does not rejoice in unrighteousness, but rejoices with the truth. 1 Corinthians 13:5-6. Now, I can go on and on. There are plenty of examples of this in Scripture, but let's move on to this. What is truth? What's the conclusion? The question Pontius Pilate asked centuries ago needs to be rephrased in order to be completely accurate. The Roman governor's remark, "What is truth?" overlooks the fact that many things can have truth, but only one thing can actually be the truth. Truth must originate from somewhere. The stark reality is that Pilate was looking directly at the origin of all truth on that early morning almost 2,000 years ago. Not long before being arrested and brought to the governor, Jesus had made the simple statement, "I am the truth," John 14:6, which was a rather incredible statement. How could a mere man be the truth? Well, he couldn't be, unless he was more than a man, which is exactly what he claimed to be. The fact is, Jesus' claim was validated when he rose from the dead, Romans 1:4. I love this story I got from gotquestions.org. I use them a lot. It's a story about a man who lived in Paris who had a stranger from the country come to see him. Wanting to show the stranger the magnificence of Paris, he took him to the Louvre to see the great art and then to a concert at a majestic symphony hall to hear a great symphony orchestra play. At the end of the day, the stranger from the country commented that he didn't particularly like either the art or the music, to which his host replied, "They aren't on trial, you are." Pilate and the Jewish leaders thought they were judging Christ, when in reality, they were the ones being judged. Moreover, the one they convicted will actually serve as their judge one day, all of ours, as he will for all who suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Pilate evidently never came to a knowledge of the truth. Eusebius, the historian and bishop of Caesarea, records the fact that Pilate ultimately committed suicide sometime during the reign of the Emperor Caligula. A sad ending and a reminder for everyone that ignoring the truth always leads to undesired consequences. Well, listen, you've been watching Ask Piro. This has been a long and tough subject, but I can promise you one thing, it's been true.